against GMOs because of, number one, the environmental impact. You look at the environmental impact. Think about it this way. They are non-target organisms. Now, the GMO maize is currently targeting the 4-armyworm. But then there are other non-target organisms that once they unintended, exactly. So they when they eat that same thing, the impact happens to them. The same thing that would happen to the 4-armyworm would happen to them. And what you start seeing reduced number of nematodes, reduced number of ladybugs, pollinators, bees and co. You don't find them on your farms again. And when you don't find those non-target organisms on your farm, you're affecting your biodiversity. And when you begin to degrade your environment, you degrade your biodiversity, that means the balance of nature is being affected. So that is where environmentalists begin getting very concerned. Also, the GMO crops don't go alone. This is one thing that they don't tell everybody. When you're buying the seeds, it goes with an addendum agrochemical. And that agrochemical is very toxic, very dangerous. In fact, in many countries around the world, it's banned. It's produced in Germany. It's produced, the name is Roundup. The active ingredient in it is glyphosate. And glyphosate is known to be a major cause of cancer, proven, tested in America and many other places where they have successfully sued them, and where they are currently paying a lot of damages to people who got. In fact, there's a very popular one. If you just search on the internet, search glyphosate ban Monsanto, you will see it all. In America, 125,000 people were paid a compensation of $10.9 billion because they got cancer from Roundup, which active ingredient is glyphosate. And Monsanto paid $10.9 billion. They have already paid. And that number has gone up to over 200,000. It's an ongoing situation right now in America. About 27 states in America have banned the use of glyphosate. Even in their next door neighbors, Mexico. Mexico 4 years ago banned GMO maize, and also banned glyphosate. And when the ban was effected, the president said that he's doing it for the health and safety of his people and the environment. And that was it. When the new president was coming in, her speech October 1st, 2024, she reiterated the ban and said that ban is not going anywhere because, it's business. I mean, this is business by people in America. They produce a lot of this GMO maize in America for export. And using the North American Trade Treaty, they export it to Mexico. And Mexico is actually the land of maize. Mexico is the home center for maize globally. Almost every species of maize you would find anywhere in the world is in Mexico. So why are they importing what they don't really need? Because of the trade treaty. So they had to pull out of that. They had to, put a moratorium against GMOs and GMO maize in Mexico. And that battle is still ongoing at the moment. In the whole of EU, glyphosate is banned. Cultivating GMOs are banned. So in South Africa, just very recently, after a 9-year battle, what we know in Nigeria as Stella maize, which was popularly called, what we saw in the media houses and all that, it's actually MON 87460. The MON there stands for Monsanto. So MON 87460. 87460. That's the code name for telomeres. So telomeres actually there are two stacks. There are two events, MON 87460 and MON 89034. Those are the two gene stacks that were made that was brought together and put into the regular maize, and then it's genetically modified. So those two events, actually, one of them was what was approved in South Africa 9 years ago, and just 22nd of October, South Africa has reversed their approval because they said it did not go through proper risk assessment before it was being approved. So that brings us to the conversation, risk assessment. Is there any risk assessment for GMOs in Nigeria? Now, from the Center for Food Safety, we've been asking the National Biosafety Management Agency, make your risk assessments available to us. We want to look at it. Let's be sure of what's going on. We've written to them using under the Freedom of Information Act. I know several other agencies, organizations that has written to them. No one is getting replies from them. I have documentaries online where we where we've called them out. In fact, at the National Assembly, we said it again. Give us your risk assessment. Let us see what you have done. Now, from our probing, the best we got was that they used the European Food Safety Authority's risk assessment, and that's what we used in Nigeria. Now, looking into that document, that's the EFSA risk assessment is a 2-year short-term risk assessment, and there are countries that banned GMO because of the EFSA risk assessment. Example is Austria. Austria said that risk assessment protocol is insufficient to guarantee the safety of their people. So if that is a risk assessment you want us to adopt in our country, Austria, we cannot guarantee our people will be safe eating your GMO from just a 2-year trial. So what are we saying? If our biosafety organization here in Nigeria admits to use the EFSA protocol, that means our people are actually at risk.
I want the public to understand what your organization does, and you being the director. So what exactly do you do on a good Monday morning?
Yeah, so what we do majorly is okay, so the organization fully we started this year.
Okay.
Because we saw a need for us to look into food safety. The conversation actually began from health. You know, food is actually the first medicine. The kitchens are actually the first hospitals before we began running to what you call the modern hospitals like we know them to be. So when you start interrogating the conversation around some of the non-communicable diseases that are very prevalent, like the strokes, the cancers, the hypertension, and what
obesity.
Obesity, exactly, because that's actually part of the cause of GM. In fact, you need to see my last retweet. I talked about it. I mentioned that there is a doctor in America that actually fed about 5,000 of her patients with non-GMO, and they found out that they reversed a lot of sicknesses by just eating non-GMO crops, by focusing on organic crops. It's my last retweet. You can check that out. So that's part of the problem. So when you begin interrogating sickness, it will take you to food, because many of the food
as a direct implication of ill health.
Yes, you would find out that it all begins from food. So, and that's where we started. Let us look at what exactly is on our menu tables. What are we eating? You know, from there we stumbled on the whole conversation around GMOs. And when you start interrogating the conversations around GMO, that's a whole big nexus. I mean, it's a chapter on its own. It's taking the bulk of our 2024, and we're also currently in the process of partnering with international laboratories, or working on setting up some international ISO certified laboratories here in Nigeria, because we don't have that.
As a country, we don't.
No. We don't have any national ISO certified labriatory in this country. Yeah.
Okay.
We have one or two private organizations that have. Someone just introduced me to one just of recent, a privately owned ISO certified laboratory, and that begs me the question: if our biotechnologists here in Nigeria and our biosafety guys here in Nigeria don't have ISO certified laboratories, how did they do the risk assessment?
How do they assess what's
coming in? We're not even talking about...
just help the public. What's an ISO assessment?
It's a standard,
laboratory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a standard, like it's a standard of how you know what's just like the standards organization of Nigeria.
Oh, perfect then.
Yeah, so it's a rating standard. So when you hear a laboratory is ISO certified, 7 point something, you have an idea of what is going on in that laboratory.
Okay, perfect.
So exactly. So these are the conversations. I mean, last week I had to go to Kaduna State. I was in Kaduna.
Okay.
I went to the southern part of Kaduna where you have a lot of farmers, and we went to speak to the farmers. Like, okay, what seeds are you using? How are you farming? What's going on here? And what we saw there was heartbreaking. I'll tell you.
Tell us.
You find a lot of farmers abandoning the traditional organic farming systems and seeds to adopt the genetically modified versions.
Any reasons given?
They'll tell you bounty harvest. That's
exactly.
The biggest promise.
That's also what they're told when they go buy the seeds. That
Exactly.
That's
the biggest promise. And but what they don't tell you from the bounty harvest is that you have to come back to buy those seeds every. This by third one, you're getting seeds.
That you don't own the rights to the seed. The person from whom you buy the seeds from own the rights.
Own the rights to the
and
seeds.
in the case where the seeds cross-pollinate.
Okay, yes. So interesting.
Well, this is going real far.
No, in fact, there is an interesting angle
Okay.
that I'm going to come in right now too.
Okay, please.
Now, before I come to that,
Okay, just before he goes into that, his name is Dr. Segun Adebayo, Director of Operations Center for Food Safety and Agricultural Research in Nigeria. We're 99.3. This is Nigeria Info, and that's just for the benefit of those who may just be tuning in. My name's Joyce. You're on the sunny side, and yes, please go ahead.
All right, so very interesting thing to note about patented seed. We have a law here in Nigeria. It's currently in effect. It's called the Plant Variety Act of 2021. I really want you to look at that act.
Okay.
I really would like Nigerians, and that's one thing I really want to let our hearers know today. You need to start reading. You need to start searching for yourself.
Could you repeat that again?
The Plant Variety Act of 2021. If you're a lawyer, that act should interest you. Now, that act protects the plant breeders against the smallholder farmers. That plant gives the plant breeders the advantage. Let me give an example. You actually cannot process those seeds. You can't process your yield without the permission of the plant breeders. It's inside the act.
Provides a legal system that encourages plant breeding, leading to the development of superior plant varieties with high yield potentials.
Okay. All right. So you need to do a deep dive into that, because what you're going to see there is actually going to be very shocking. Farmers will be unable to distribute share seeds amongst themselves.
It's already happening in Kenya.
It's in effect. You see, let me tell you how it goes. It's the twin brother. It's the twin brother of the GMOs, because by the time GMOs have fully replaced your natural seeds, then this law will now be in effect.
Meaning that it would be illegal for you to be in possession of a biological seed.
It would be illegal for you to distribute seeds any which way.
It would be illegal for me as a farmer to give my brother's wife seeds.
You're going to get arrested and jailed if found guilty for 10 to 15 years.
Is this a Nigerian law you're asking us to look at?
It's inside there. It's also it's the same law that is in Kenya. It's the same law that is in Ghana. It's the same law. And in fact, if you go to Brazil, a similar type of that law resulted to resulted to a lot of Brazilian farmers. They got sued by Monsanto. Same MON in the MON 87460. They got sued by Monsanto, and they were made to pay over 7 billion. Many of them went bankrupt. Many of them committed suicide. So, when the GMOs get a grip on your economy, and the patented seeds now become like the official source of food for your country, what you have done is that your country has lost its food sovereignty, and it's submitted it to food capitalists like the Monsanto and the rest of them. And then when your food is now dependent on those people, it can be weaponized against you. There's a very interesting story you might want to look into in South Africa, who have actually lost many of their natural seeds. You know, which party is it? Julius Malema and co. They were trying to, take back their land from the white farmers. They want their land back and all that. And then they started getting calls that if you take back your land, DuPont, Syngenta, Monsanto, and the rest of them, we will keep our seeds back. So you can have the land, but you won't have seeds to plant on them. So when you don't have seeds to plant on the land, what are you doing with the land? So right now, you have that they are being twisted. And you're seeing that the same guys who were behind the apartheid are now in the government. How?
Oh, that's a cold revelation.
Because they were actually twisted based on seeds. Because if you keep back the seeds, your people will go hungry and they will revolt against you. So you can be manipulated when your seeds are being controlled. So this is the conversation that we need to start having. What laws do we have? And another thing again is this. When you start engaging on this, start asking yourself, who lobbied those laws into place? Because organizations lobby laws. You see, if you go to the National Assembly,
they probably even bribe their way through.
Oh yes, Monsanto again was responsible in Indonesia, tried to bribe their government officials $50,000 to look away from risk assessment and co. And then the government guy said, no, I have a lot of these documents, I could share them with you. And then the government guy says no. And Monsanto was fined for $1.5 million, and they paid. There's a whole research that was done at our center on fines from organizations like that who are trying to now come into our food systems. We have a whole research document on that. We can make that available to you. See every instance where they've been fined for this kind of bad behaviors,
unethical, immoral
in fact, that's
behavior.
the title of the documents: unethical and unethical consents, unethical practices of Monsanto in farming. So,
so I'm going to ask you to just give us a moment. Lagos, if you have just tuned in, welcome. You're listening to 99.3 Nigeria Info. My name is Joyce. We're going to quickly go off on a break. When we come back, this conversation continues. We're discussing GMOs. Well, if you are a farmer, I would love for you to leave me a message. I think it's necessary to get your opinion. If you're a concerned Nigerian, I'd love to get a reaction from you. If you are a proponent for what I would call the benefits that the GMO crops provide us, I think this is also an equal opportunity for you to call in and share what appears to be your conviction as to short and long-term benefits of having genetically modified organisms merge with the original biological structure of our human existence. We're off on a break. We'll be right back. My name's Joyce. You're on the sunny side.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We'll be right back.
For this country, everything just cash, even cash.
KC, I don't define you for shops this morning. Why you dey this kind queue?
Jojo, na cash I want collect since morning.
Cash? Why?
I know one waiting happen for 1672 happen again. Today, I must collect correct naira note for hand.
KC, cash dey everywhere for bank, ATM, POS agent, and if you want run and cashlessly, you fit use mobile app, internet banking, ATM, POS, USSD, QR code, and other options them.
Dudu, you sure?
I beg you, make we dey go. Your customers dey shop dey wait for you. See, the cash where you define for Sokoto, e dey for your Sokoto. You understand? Country people, money na money. Spend them, collect them, no hold them, no panic. Cash dey everywhere. This message now from Bankers Committee.
Are you looking for where you can get first-hand information about studying Ireland? Come and explore the Lagos Studying Ireland Fair. Whether you're considering an undergraduate or postgraduate courses, this fair is the perfect place to meet representatives from top Irish universities and colleges, gather information, and ask any questions you may have. Discover the wide range of study options available in Ireland and learn about the academic programs, scholarships, and application process. Date Saturday, 7th December 2024. Time 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Venue The Myriad Hotel, 122 Joe Ogunike Street, Ikeja, GRA, Lagos. For more information, call +234 906 161 3972 +234 811 492 1547 +353 892 313 934. Admissions is free, so mark your calendars and get ready for a fantastic day of discovery and networking. Powered by Michael Educational Consult Limited.
Welcome back to your #1 talk, news, and sports station. This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
We're like gold diggers. tunneling through the mishaps and the handicaps.
I don't know what to cook for them. I don't know what to give them to eat. That is the issue at hand as I speak right now.
In the name of the good, we hope to earn the truth and be worth our weight in salt.
Every night, every lad and there, we hear 1 million boys, 2 million boys, 3 million boys. Just for one people who don't have no money. You're supposed to find it to go where people can follow you. Everybody can follow you. Both the rich and those poor.
The Sunny Side with Joyce.
The Sunny Side with Joyce.
Weekdays 12 to 3 p.m. on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Only on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Let's talk. It's 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock.
The news update on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Lagos, you're listening to the updates this hour. Former Governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, has pleaded not guilty to the 16 counts charge leveled against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The ex-governor was arraigned before Justice Mary Ann Anini of the FCT High Court on Tuesday after honoring an invitation from the commission. The EFCC has filed a 110 billion naira alleged fraud suit against Bello alongside Umar Oricha and Abdulsalami Hudu, who are being prosecuted as first to third defendants. Meanwhile, the MD and CEO of NNPCL, Mele Kyari, says the lifting of petrol from the Port Harcourt refinery will not be a one-off activity but will be sustained. Mr. Kyari gave this assurance today when he led top officials of the NNPCL and workers at the Port Harcourt refinery to kick off the processing of crude oil and the lifting of petroleum products from the facility. The NNPCL boss dismissed insinuations that the lifting of petrol would stop after Tuesday's ceremony. He also outlined the benefits of the refinery to citizens. For his part, the chairman of the Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria in Rivers State, Francis Dinkpa, enumerated the gains for Nigerians, including marketers from the Port Harcourt refinery's operations. Now, Nigerians have been eager to know the price of petrol from the Port Harcourt refinery, and it seems there's now a clue based on comments from Petroen's public relations officer, Dr. Joseph Obele. Obele revealed that the NNPCL sells its petrol at 1,045 naira per litre, which is 75 naira more than the 970 naira per litre price offered by Dangote Refinery. He argued that the 75 naira price differential presents a steep margin for businesses, particularly in an industry where profitability depends on competitive pricing. And in Lagos, the State Environmental and Special Offences Enforcement Unit has apprehended 53 suspected criminals in the Gowon Estate area. The chairman of the task force, CSP Adetayo Akerele, stated that the operation aimed to enhance safety, security, and environmental decorum in the area. Akerele disclosed that several illicit drugs and narcotics, including Indian hemp, codeine syrup, and Colorado, were discovered during the operation. He emphasized that the crackdown provides much-needed relief to residents of Gowon Estate, Ikpaja, Egbeda, Idimo, and nearby areas affected by the activities of these suspects. And on the foreign scene, a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah has taken effect in Lebanon after more than a year of fighting. The truce began at 4 a.m. local time and 3 a.m. Nigerian time on Wednesday, marking an end at least temporarily, to 14 months of conflict between Israel and the Iran-backed militant group. The ceasefire deal was announced on Tuesday by Israel, France, and the U.S., with President Joe Biden describing it as a step forward, a permanent cessation of hostilities. Despite the agreement, reports indicate that attacks continued on both sides until shortly before the ceasefire took effect. Lagos, that's the news update. You are listening to The Sunny Side with Joyce on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Thank you for your time.
Tick, says the clock. What we have to do today is worthy of note.
This is Sunny Side with Joyce, only on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
We are back to the conversation. 99.3 Nigeria Info, you on the sunny side. And it's so good to have you join us, as you do every day, around the clock. My name's Joyce, and this afternoon on the show, I would hate to admit that it was coincidence, really, but I'm also grateful that he agreed to make out time to be on the show this afternoon to speak about the work his organization is into. His name is Dr. Segun Adebayo, Director Operations, Center for Food Safety and Agricultural Research, and our focus this afternoon is on GMO. Now, and I think I just really want to touch on this before I further the conversation. If you Google, Bayer or glyphosate, and I think that's also something else we may need to visit on the Lords of Logic. It's like, what is the truth in today's world? So you would see articles where they report that glyphosate is safe, and if you follow the directions, doesn't cause cancer. In fact, it was even one of the first things that popped up when I Googled glyphosate, which of course is a chemical used by farmers to prevent weed. Now, it's a toxin as well, highly carcinogenic, and can induce cancer, damage liver and kidney. And then you would have to be patient and, I would say, quite deliberate in your search for you to find scientific literature that suggests that glyphosate is dangerous to your health. So even by observation of what your news is, there is a war on what the truth is. There's a war on what you should know. So except you're truly diligent and patient and waiting upon what appears to be the most convincing aspect of the facts, you may be convinced that glyphosate isn't dangerous. But I think a very basic way to approach the logic is, should I be the one to answer the question? No, I shouldn't. I think my guest needs to speak if he's not so distracted.
Right. So I think that one of the things that we need to do is when there are conversations like this, back and forth on glyphosate, whether it causes cancer or not, let's look at some of the cases where, for instance, 2024, a jury in Philadelphia Court of Commons pleaded that the John McKevisions, that's the person, his non-Hodgkin lymphoma was a result of Roundup for yard work at his house for many years. So
I've seen an Al Jazeera. Okay, go ahead.
The individual won the suit.
Okay.
And he was paid $400 million because he got cancer from using Roundup, which is a product of Bayer. Now, Bayer bought Monsanto in 2016 for 60 or 63 billion dollars, thereabouts. And after the purchase, Bayer's shares dropped from about 93 euro per share to about, currently it's dancing within 27 to 28, 29. Now, after that huge loss, because of the many lawsuits they had against them, the many legal battles they have and all that, the bad PR they have globally, it's all over the world, banned around the world, banned in many parts of Asia, banned in Europe, 27 states in America banning it, Mexico is banning it, then where's the next destination? Africa. So then you have them coming into Africa. First of all, you're seeing a resurgence in biotechnology across Africa. The water resistant maize for water resistance maize for Africa. The WEMA project is started, and it was cancelled in many parts of Africa. The telomerase program. Now, the interesting thing is when telomerase came, they said to us that it's indigenous science, that our team of highly qualified experts in the Institute of Agricultural Research in Zaria are responsible for developing it. But then if you search the word telomerase, I mean, you see telomerase goes way back 10, 15 years ago. I mean, if our scientists just invented it, why is it already existing in many parts of Africa? Tanzania has tried the telomerase program and cancelled it twice. And Tanzania at the moment have an effective ban on GMOs. There are no GMOs, and Tanzania is currently 128% food sufficient without GMOs. Let's think about that for a minute. I mean, how did they get to food sufficiency without GMOs? That's the conversation we should be having. How can we improve our food production? What's going on? What's the framework of our agricultural policies at the moment? We're in a country right now that our post-harvest losses is between 40 to 50%. In other words, as high as 50%, of our yield, we're losing it.
Okay. You know, it's quite profound. I want to ask you what you found in the north when you went there. I like a little detail. I want to take us back a little bit. But just for what it's worth, according to the Genetic Literacy Project, it's a website. You can Google it. Algeria, Madagascar in Africa, Turkey, Kazakhstan, Bhutan, Saudi Arabia, Belarus, Peru, Ecuador, Venezuela, South and Central America, and 28 European countries have banned GMO crops. Russia is the most populous country to ban both cultivation and the importation of GMO crops. So it seems as though first world nations are taking the liberty to honestly regulate what they eat. But Africa doesn't quite appear to have whether the will or the means to exercise their liberty over their crops, because we know recently that the Nigerian government approved telomerase, and one of the
There are three popular, actually there are more, but there are three popular crops that have been approved for cultivation
in Nigeria.
GMOs in Nigeria. The first, like would happen anywhere in the world, is BT cotton. That's Bacillus thuringiensis again. It's BT cotton. It's genetically modified cotton. And interestingly, if you look at a report on Business Day, 23rd of September, you would see where the National Association of Cotton Farmers complained. A very interesting article. Let's look at it for a moment. They complained that the bounty harvest that they were expecting, they're not getting it. Number two, they complained that the cost of the seeds have gone really high. I ended up speaking to the president of that association when I saw the article, and he said to me, he said they used to buy the seeds at 15,000 naira per kg, and they needed 4 kg to plant on a hectare. Now the seeds are going as high as 55,000 naira per kg, and you still need the same 4 kg per hectare. And also, you need to use 20% of your land, 20% of a land, for what you call refuge farming. In other words, you have to now plant organic there, so that when the insects come, they can feed there before this new system.
You use 20%,
and for your that's for the to protect the GMO farm. You're using up to 20%. These things are not that they don't say it at surface level. You would begin to find it in the fine print. You know, when you start going a deep dive into what this thing is all about. And Monsanto is on record as far back as 2010 saying that GMO cotton has failed in India. It's failed in India already. Not just India, in Burkina Faso. And in fact, as you're searching, you could also add the word, BT cotton failed India, then add suicide, because a lot of their cotton farmers committed suicide. In fact, it was several researches had to be conducted as to why many of their cotton farmers had to commit suicide. In fact, there's also a report of over 1,820 sheep, lambs. They died after they grazed on GMO cotton. In India, in Burkina Faso also, the same thing is happening there. Burkina Faso, in fact, they embraced because one of their major their cash crops is actually cotton, but they had to abandon it eventually because it gave them inferior lint. They couldn't export it. It was being torn down. And then they had to abandon it because all the promises that they were told, they didn't get it. In fact, there's a whole documentary on that, a whole documentary where 500 cotton farmers in Burkina Faso participated in that documentary and the research to prove that the thing was false.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, our farmers made their own report 23rd of September. It's in a business day, and they also reported that the land could not support organic seeds anymore.
Oh dear, we are in something we don't have a name for.
So that is an experience. It's anybody who's on the internet right now can search that. And
Well, any farmer who's listening, I would like you to know what your first-hand experience is. Please, just go.
Yeah. So something else I also like to say at this time, when you want to search a lot on GMOs, don't use Google.
Yeah.
Use Yandex.
Okay.
Yandex or DuckDuckGo or any other search engine, you would see a whole lot more than what you're seeing when you're going to, when you're searching Google and all. So now you asked about my experience in Kaduna.
Yeah, and then I want to ask another question. I don't know if this is a good time to inject the question.
Right.
Yeah, but the other question will be, there's debates between, well, if you get the GMO, you're going to get more yields. You have mentioned rather passively that there are farmers, for example, in India where the GMO cotton failed. In Nigeria, what's your experience? I know that for a lack of knowing, there would be farmers who would prefer, to fall for the seduction of buy our seeds, you would get 10 times your yield and you can make more money. I want to know if you have been able to interrogate the comparison between the bio seeds and these genetically modified crops.
All right.
So first, your experience in the north.
Okay. In the north, many of them, of course, are embracing. You see, this thing it comes gradually.
Mm-hmm.
It starts from high-performing hybrid seeds. Now, hybrid seeds, they're not genetically modified. They've been grafted. There are ethical ways to produce hybrid seeds, and you find them being used being used a lot of times in people amongst commercial farmers, people who are all out for the profit. You want to maximize profit. So now what I found was that there was actually a guy I met. He was brought to me as one of the best tomato farmers in the north, in that area, and he said to me that he still has the seeds that his grandmother, who he inherited the farming from. This is a third generation farmer now. He still has the seeds that she used that time, but he's kept them. And because they are being encouraged now to use more of these new seeds you go to buy in the market that they use a lot of chemicals with, because it produces
more yield.
More yield, of course. And the more they use the chemicals, the yields are actually good. So commercially, it's they like it. The farmers like it, but then they're finding out that they're needing to use more of the chemicals because the weeds are getting
weeds
are getting they're becoming super weeds. So he said that but of course they will just put the cost on the buyers, increase the cost. They say its price has gone up, because they're factoring their cost of production into it. He says, but no. So we asked him. He said, so do you think it's sustainable in the long run? And he says that's the reason why he's still keeping his old seeds from his grandmother.
Yeah, but the tragedy is that you're not even going to have land to plant your old seeds on if the GMO is not only going to take the liberty and your freedom to own seeds, but it's also going to corrupt your soil.
So this is why we are now speaking to the Nigerian government to ban these chemicals, toxic chemicals.
Oh.
Now, one of the chemicals is actually, the ban was initiated, but it's supposed to go in effect from January. That's atrazine, and atrazine is by January 2025 is going to be effect. The ban is going to start being in effect, and we wondered why atrazine was delayed till then, because atrazine is a known endocrine disruptor. It's a powerful. It blocks the development of the testosterone and stimulates the development of the female hormones, the progesterone.
Oh yeah,
and
I thought
estrogen.
I saw a biological experiments with
Yeah.
frogs. Estrogen
Good.
was used in frogs, and
Good.
the male frogs could carry eggs.
Yeah,
I think I
so when
saw
you
that.
start seeing the feminization of men, those are chemicals that are being used for it.
Okay.
So yeah, so
So-
atrazine is going to be banned. It's actually been banned, but it take effect from January.
Okay.
But we need National Assembly to step up and act on glyphosate immediately.
Okay, so now I think I wanted to ask you as to the resolve or resolution from the National Assembly, but you have to answer the question of, have you found any analysis that compares biological seed and its yield to what you recorded, genetically modified seeds and its yield, and whether this narrative, this propagation of you will make more money, whether it's true in a sense, and if not, can you compare what we're losing when we give up natural seeds for genetically modified seeds?
You actually can compare what you're losing. The first thing you're going to lose is your food freedom. The fact that you'd always have to buy your seeds from the seed merchants. That's the first thing. In fact, one of our symposiums we had in Abuja, we had a farmer come in. He has a very large farm, and he said he tried these GMO seeds that they were given to him. And when he planted them, of course, he said the first year, the whole place the harvest was massive. He was so excited. He got, far more than he would get from the organic
Anticipated,
seed.
yeah.
So he was very happy. So, and then after the harvest, he separated some of the seeds. I was going to use it for the next planting season. But they said, no. The seed sellers told him that it's something you have to come buy from us every time you need. So I was like, no, I don't need to come. And then he tried to plant the seeds from the yield. And when he tried it, he wanted it to run its course for a whole planting season. And after the planting season, there was almost nothing.
It's almost deception. Like there's no other word for it. This is deception.
So you see, that's the thing. You have to look at the character of the organizations that are editing those seeds. So they would put in their character into it. I mean, this is a business. Capitalization is the thing. Food capitalization. One own your food.
The usurpation of your own liberty.
Exactly.
This is communism at play.
Exactly. So this is actually the conversation. How do you trust the organization that's editing it? What if they are actually putting something in it? What if they are putting something in it that is going to show up 3 generations to come? It's not going to show up now.
Yeah.
For instance,
when you say that show up 3 generations from now, you mean that alter you biologically
Thank
3
you.
years from now.
They will mess up your DNA, alter your DNA, and then three generations from now. So even right now, your generation, you may not see it, you may not see the effect of it, but then because you don't know who is there to come help
Actually,
us
there are
look into it.
documentaries that have shown the farmers coming down with neurodegenerative diseases. Like in a single generation, someone was on a farm and either came down with cancer or lost ability to control his own motor system in his body, like form of paralysis of a sort. I want to open up the telephone lines, and there's this question of the National Assembly, but I want you to hold on a little bit. There's a farmer here, and I want to read the message, and then we have to open up the telephone lines for the public to respond. So Lagos, Nigeria Info, we hold this to be worthy of note, and we're discussing GMOs. And if you're a farmer, I want to know whether you're grateful to God that you are reaping what you have sown, and whether there's any nightmare, any tragedy that comes along with this. Joyce, I know of seeds we call agric. Is that what you people call GMO? Is that what it is? Your phone, you have to put your...
So yeah, there are hybrids actually. There are some hybrids that
that are not genetically modified.
Genetically modified.
All right.
But then again, you see, one of the things we need to do in this country is to invest actually in our research, so that when we have these seeds, we can actually go test them. Let's know exactly
what they are.
Fantastic.
Okay. So this one goes, example, agric seeds and native seeds. The native corn seeds are smaller, agric are bigger. Native palm fruit seeds are big with the tiny flesh. Agric is plenty of flesh with small seed or no seed. Native rice comes with small torch of brown. Agric comes super clean. Native banana grows taller. Agric grows smaller and bring fruit faster. Native cassava takes at least 1 year and half before we harvest. Agric cassava is ready before 8 months. Are this what you people are calling GMO? No, I think these are hybrid seeds at this point.
No, so we can't tell right now
Okay.
until we have to check what's inside, because that's another thing. There's a lot of seed smuggling across borders. There's a lot of seed
that's
smuggling.
another
Exactly, yes.
conversation.
For instance, I had to call the attention of the NBMA once, the National Biosafety Management Agency, to a certain farmer in Nigeria who was openly marketing GMO mangoes, GMO this, GMO. He was openly on Facebook marketing GMO seeds. We don't know where he's gotten them from, because he could actually bring them in from somewhere. So there's a lot going on in that space that we need to know what's going on. Thank you.
The government needs to play a
government
functional
needs to
role
exactly.
in that field. Okay. Then he goes, the person adds, is this what you people are calling GMO? As for the chemical you people are talking about, glyphosate, that's what we use to control weed. Like, we don't have options, because how much will you pay laborers to weed the hectares of land? Please let the government provide machinery that can weed grass on our farms. That's the solution. This is Godwin from Delta State. If you're on the telephone lines, I'm going to come to you in a moment. We have to quickly go off on a break. When we come back, your Nigeria info, and our guest is Dr. Shagun, and we are trying to bring, I guess, in some sense, the conversation of genetically modified foods up, so that every Nigerian, particularly those who are informed, who have experience, can come forward and educate the public. This is something we will do collectively to permit genetically modified organisms, or to insist that it be banned. It is not going to be the job of one Nigerian. It is going to be the job of all Nigerians. And then I think the consequences thereafter is ours to bear. We're off on a break. We'll be right back.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
It's that time of the week again. Are you ready to dive into the wide world of news? Join us for the Hat Fact Awards every Friday at 3 to 4 p.m. on Nigeria Info FM. We are breaking down the best, the worst, and the downright Nawa stories that had everyone talking this week.
No, some people don't do
From jaw-dropping headlines to the most outrageous events, we've got it all covered.
Y'all know how we do it, so let's get it on.
Tune in as we celebrate the stories that make you laugh, cry, and shake your head in disbelief. Whether it's the latest viral sensation or the craziest political blunder,
We are going to provide you with insecurity.
we'll give you the rundown on what's hot and what's not. And guess what? You get to vote for your favorite stories in our weekly awards. Who will take home the coveted title of the best stories of the week, and which tale will earn the infamous worst story of the week? Had Facts Awards on Nigeria Info FM, where we turn the news into entertainment.
With 4 slots left in the quarterfinals and 8 debaters vying to occupy them, the round of 16 resumes on Wednesday with white heat. Abiel Yunusa takes on Ochia Odibe Charisma at 4 p.m. Their bone of contention: should fast food restaurants be held responsible for obesity? In light fashion, Abdul Jalal Adeshope Shitu faces Samuel Richard Wofai at 5 p.m. They'll debate the topic: is the gender gap in STEM fields a result of societal biases? Lagos, there is no slowing down. Join Femi Obang Daniels and me on Wednesday as this adventure continues. I Beg to Differ Season 8. 32 debaters, now 12. One winner, 1 million naira. Sponsored by Tollywood College. Supported by Obiwizi, Card Center Nigeria Limited, Lucas Green Fashion, Biloxi, and Quadras Group. The season continues in March and culminates in the August National Championship in 2025. Send an email to info@nigeriainfo.fm. That is info@nigeriainfo.fm. I Beg to Differ. A tournament of champions.
Street Foods Nigeria returns with a power package season focused on nutrition, hygiene, promotion of tourism, and cultural heritage of Nigeria. Watch regular street food vendors transform to becoming extraordinary food ambassadors that brings foreign direct investments under the mentorship of celebrity judges like Chef T, Diary of a Kitchen Lover, Okpayemi Famakin Kunleremi, the host with the most, Eniolua, and other guest judges. Catch Street Foods Nigeria on YouTube look at Food Bay TV. Turn on your notification to be the first to see it. Street Foods Nigeria Season 5 is proudly brought to you by Food Bay TV in collaboration with Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development. Championed by Golden Penny. Sponsored by Calypso. Refreshed by Maltina and Tiger Beer. Supported by Hospitality Business School, Prism Healthcare, and Palladium Farms.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
Your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Tick, says the clock. What we have to do today is worthy of note.
This is Sunny Side with Joy, only on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Oh, that's so... I should have you on the Lords of Logic at this point. Don't worry, I'll introduce you to it in a moment. Lagos 99.3 Nigeria Info, 29 minutes past 1 p.m. You're listening to The Sunny Side. My name's Joyce, and our guest this afternoon. My guess is you're enjoying this as much as I am right here in the studio. The telephone lines are officially open. Please, if you have a commentary, it's necessary that you keep it well within a minute because we have to accommodate as much opinions as we can. I still have a litany of questions to ask my guest. At this point, it's looking like we're going to have him rescheduled, but I think for what it's worth, the public reaction to what we're discussing, your experience, first-hand account experiences are necessary to give color to this conversation that we're having on Nigeria Info. 0201-2770-993. For the females, 0201-465-7190. And our WhatsApp number is 08095975805. My name's Joyce. You're on the sunny side. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Good afternoon, sister.
Don't shout. Okay, good. Turn up the volume of your radio set real quick. 1 minute.
Okay. I want to ask you a question. Say, this genetically modified seed. Say our natural food and natural seed. Say they don't finish. Are we complaining? Another one. Glyphosate that kills space and help in flooding and other things. But it replaces the weed. When you use hoe to remove the weed, when it dies, it helps the fertility of the soil. So that glyphosate is a chemical, and it will also chemicalize, bringing cancer for our consumption. So I want the National Assembly to ban that genetically modified seed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for calling that straight to the point. Someone says, good afternoon, Joyce. Ask your guest in the studio. Is there GMO versions of beans, rice?
Yes.
Oh, that was quick. Is there GMO beans, rice already existing in Nigeria at the moment? God bless you, Michael from Isolo.
Legally, GMO beans, yes. PBR cowpea, Podbora resistant cowpea, was I think 2019. And that it should interest you that they submitted the application for it October, and by January it was approved.
Oh, that's some serious lobbying. That's some major lobbying.
Factor in the fact that there's December break.
Yeah, that's some. How much do you want? Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Right. So
wow,
it's there. But you see, right now, it's currently it's I wouldn't say that all white beans are GMO, but it's white. We don't have the brown GMO beans in Nigeria.
Yeah,
yet.
but I'm skeptical of the brown beans, the light brown beans that cooks in a blink. And then the other version, it's a variety. Is it possible it's hybrid and not genetically modified?
Yeah, it's possible. You see, the thing again is with beans, it will interest everyone on the call to know that Nigeria has been banned from exporting our beans because of the high quantity of pesticides in them. So countries that prioritize the health of their citizens are protecting their citizens from Nigerian farmers. It's funny.
So that's an inverted double whammy. It's like the Nigerians are eating the Nigerian beans, but nobody else can eat your beans because you have pesticides in it.
Exactly. So that's one of the arguments that the proponents of GMOs, because we need to understand what they want to do.
Okay.
One of the arguments they argue is since the crop is resistant to the insects, so you would spray less. So if you're farming conventional beans, you're going to spray like 4 or 5 times. But if you're farming GMO beans, you'll spray like 2-3 times. But that's in the first farming season, because by the next farming season, it becomes resistant.
Because it mutates.
It mutates over time. And we had to make a research available to them at the National Assembly, where in Canada, it's always the case. The first planting season looks like all things are bright and beautiful, but progressively, the use of pesticide increased by over 244% after about 15, 16 years.
The World Health Organization has reported the resistant germs in our entire biological circle, where now germs or weeds are becoming so resistant to the antibiotics.
Exactly.
And so it means that you need far stronger antibiotics to kill the last mutants. And when you create a new antibiotics, the last mutants equally mutate to match to resist this new antibiotics, and the circle continues.
And it would also interest you that it's part of what GMOs cause. GMOs lead to antibiotic resistance. They lead to increased allergenicity. I always miss that word.
It's all right. Take your time.
Allergenicity.
Okay.
That's the word.
Okay.
In other words, you'll start finding out that you're allergic to new things. Allergic to all sort of stuff. Increases your allergenicity, and also increases the damage of GMOs. Let's have some more calls.
Yeah, sure.
I'll go into some of the damages of GMOs.
You know exactly where you're at. We're 99.3. This is Nigeria Info, and I'm taking your reaction on the matter. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for being on Nigeria Info. Make it back. Hello, welcome to the show. My name's Joyce. We're taking your calls indeed. Hello, so good to have you join the conversation.
Hello, Joy. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Tell us your name real quick. Get to the point.
My name is Olumoyiwa. I'm calling from Aija.
Good.
Now, this kind of topic is supposed to even give me 5 minutes as a farmer.
Oh, well.
Okay, let me quickly start this way.
Good.
I want to rush 2 things. I will say the last one without rushing it. It is so disheartening that the country where India come here to carry our soil, because our cassava couldn't grow in their country, they have to dig our soil to their country. Now they have Indian Gari. What happened to Malaysia? Nigeria was the genesis of their wealth. Now, it's annoying me when I hear people talk about National Assembly should put an end to the GMO, something they permitted. In conclusion, I have a poultry, and I used to wonder, why are my chicken have to spend 6, 7, 8 more before they can big like my neighbor, my friend? And I discovered that this broiler that people are eating poison. That chicken broiler that people are eating, this is what happened. 2 months before Christmas, they will buy them. They will now start giving them super glow water. That super glow water will enlarge that chicken to an extent that when you see it, you say, wow, very big.
Yeah.
But people are eating chemical.
Oh.
Let me stop there.
I'm grateful you called it. Thank you so much. Someone is asking, he says, all these end-time agenda of man from the dark world aiming to destroy us because of money. The same thing Dr. Patrick said on your show. Please, what do we do? Should we go on national protest against the ban of GMO seeds in Nigeria? This is Yomi from Victoria Island. I'm on the telephone lines right now. I'm taking your reaction. Good afternoon to you, Nigeria Info. It's so good to have you join the conversation.
Hello, Joy. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for calling. Thank you, Peter. Go ahead, please.
Since this is now, it seems to me that the federal government has let Nigeria populace down. So I will enjoy your best, Mr. Shegun Adebayo here. So let us start demarketing all these products. Then we should let us know which type of crops that is in the market presently. We should mention all of them so that we can abstain from taking it. We go for others.
Yeah.
You can mention them particularly, rice, beans, tomato. If you mention all of them, that their GMO seeds is in the country.
Okay.
That is one. Secondly, what do we do? Now, the advocacy should be more than this so that the public will be aware, so that we can hold our representatives and the senators accountable for our this thing.
Yeah.
If need be, we sue them. If they are in charge of judiciary, we sue them to international court of justice.
Thank you. You were to the point. I do appreciate. Hold your breath, like telephone lines. I need to really get there. Okay. Hope you won't forget your questions.
No.
Okay, good. Nigeria Info, you on the sunny side. Turn off the volume of your radio set, please. My name's Joyce. What's yours?
All right. My name is Emmanuel. I'm calling from Oba.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for calling Nigeria Info.
All right. I just want to ask a question because in recent time, something is really disturbing me.
Turn off the volume. Hold on a second before we further the conversation. You must turn off the volume of your radio set.
I'm someone who eats a lot of beans. So there's these beans that we found in the market. So nice looking, so smooth and all of that. So we cooked, and when you are eating it, it's like there's sugar to eat. The thing is so sweet, and it's just moving, and I could eat so much and all of that. Sometimes I find that I can't even sleep at night if I eat it in the night.
Oh.
Am I actually eating GMO beans?
Welcome to the world where Bill Gates is the highest influence in politics and medicine. What do you think? And now food. Thank you so much. Nigeria Info, you on the sunny side. How are you? Afternoon to you. Thank you so much for calling. What's your name?
Maduka from Facebook. With the war, because I see it as war against the GMO, is still being fought at intellectual level. We need to take the war to emotional level. And that's why I like a country like America. When they want to push an agenda, they actually exploit the emotional level more than intellectual level. If we want to campaign against this thing emotionally, we need to get the religious leaders, explain to them, and once they run with it, that this thing is challenging what God has arranged from the beginning of the world. It makes sense to them. They tell their people become militant about it, and will push back.
All right.
As it is we just go in and people are adopting and we are eating poison. But if they begin to talk about it from that spiritual, emotional side, we begin to win this war.
Thank you.
Even their politicians use that against us. So let's use it as a weapon. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone says, I went to the store in Lagos. To my surprise, I bought oranges. Not a single seed was found in any of the oranges. This is Smith from Ikeja. We're Nigeria Info. You are on the sunny side. Hello. I'm going to get back to my guest in a moment after two more calls. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for calling Nigeria Info.
My name is Masude. I like the submission of last caller. But I want to ask you a question, please. Is this GMO something? Is it not a ritual way of life?
What?
Like people that ritual. They're using human being life to make money.
Well, there you go.
Because people used to kill human beings, take their parts, make juju, get money. It's not the same pattern.
At this point.
Can't we treat them like those people?
Oh, wow. Thank
Please.
you. Thank you.
I want it to be like that.
Thank you so much. You've asked a question. Let's final caller. Nigeria Info, you're on the sunny side. Thank you so much for being here.
DJ.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon to you.
Please, I don't know if he has answered this question, but I want to know, much consumption of GMO, can it alter medical science? Like you're taking drugs, you are antimicrobial resistant. Is it possible that too much intake of GMO?
Oh, yeah, we've answered it. Oh, absolutely. You can even read the World Health Organization's report on, I just said it even before I took to the telephone lines.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you become resistant.
Okay. Wow, Jesus.
Well, there you go. Imagine.
Well, get there.
You have people who are trying to lose weight. It's not losing.
Yeah, people trying to lose weight who find it difficult to lose.
Yeah, it's just
estrogens unable to. Well, your body's not properly able to regulate the estrogen in the body.
Yes, and also early termination of pregnancies.
Oh yeah,
miscarriages and all, because your water. You start. Start asking. I'm sure a lot of people. You know someone who's lost pregnancy at 6 months, 7 months, 5 months. What's became? The clock is messed up. The hormones that are supposed to tell the body that it's time to go give birth
are all disrupted.
It's disrupted. So 6 months, 7 months is already ticking off.
Okay.
There's research for that.
Okay.
To prove that GMOs cause that.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you remember any other questions? Otherwise, the telephone lines are calling your name.
Oh, yeah, let the telephone lines. I still have a lot of questions.
Oh, wow. The sunny side, then, what a day it is. So good to have you, John, worthy of notes today. Make it back, Nigeria Info, the sunny side. Hello, can you hear me? Good afternoon to you. Hello? Okay, we're going to have to come back to you real quick. Hello, please, just a moment. I would like to continue because we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, about the emotional, of course, it's something that, we welcome many people, every other person. When you get to church on Sunday, speak to your pastors about it. Let them know you're listening to Sunnyside, and, let them know the dangers with GMOs. Anybody who does their independent research, it's not a job for one person, it's a job for everybody. So if you go to a church, you go to a mosque, or whatever you go to, speak to your religious leaders, let them know what's going on, get information from the internet, and then speak to them about it. That's one. Now, someone talked about seedless foods. Of course, that's the thing. It's a lot of, the Nigerian food market is not regulated as it should be. And there's even a cold war between NAFDAC and the NBMA.
Who's the NBMA?
That's the National Biosafety Management Agency.
Oh,
they are actually the people who are supposed to regulate biotechnology in Nigeria. But the sad news about that is that the last conference I was at, all the speakers at the biosafety conference were all profile promoters of biotechnology. So how do you cut with the promoters of the technology? That means you're not playing in the middle. Okay. There were only 2 anti-GMO people in the biosafety conference. Everybody
else was
in fact, there's an organization called the Open Forum for Agriculturalists in Biotechnology, OFAB. OFAB is, in fact, the mandate of OFAB is to promote GMOs, promote biotechnology across the continent. OFAB was the one distributing the conference materials at the biosafety conference. Wow. So that's like saying that the referee is now the one scoring the goals.
Yeah.
That's it. And another thing that we're pressuring the National Assembly to take actions on is that the NBMA's Act of 2015 puts the promoters of biotechnology, which is another agency under the Ministry of Science and Technology. That's the Nigerian Biotechnology Research and Development Agency, NABDA. NABDA is sitting on the board of the regulators. So how will NBMA regulate NABDA when NABDA is sitting on their board? So that's something that we need to look into. Another thing we need to critically look into in Nigeria is to bring in the FCCPC, the Federal Competition Consumers Protection Commission, to bring them into the board of NBMA and let them start their work in looking very critically into the operations of the biosafety organization. The offices of the public petition, they need to be opened. The public need to start petitioning. We need citizen participation in politics and in what is going on right now.
Policies as well.
Policies is at this time critically needed, because if we rise up together and we use this instrument of government, I mean, we've seen FCCPC, that's one of my best government organizations. They find the MTNs, they find the DSTVs, they find everybody. It is time to start finding in the area of food, because our people are not being protected, and that's what we need to do. We need to protect our citizens. There's a lot of illegal smuggling of food into the country, across the border, across the porous borders. When you see the former president saying things like grow your own food, grow your rice, stop importing frozen food and all, those were very good policies that were very welcome.
Yeah, but they didn't quite back it up. I mean, there's a lot of talking as against, like, you talk and you do. It was more talking.
Yeah, so the thing is this. The major challenge to that actually was the farm insecurity. Because at the time when Nigeria began celebrating our rice sufficiency, 40 farmers were shot dead in the farm. Just 3 days ago in Enugu, rice farmers were killed on the farm. They were killed there, right there on their farms. In Niger State, this is 3 days ago. It happened on the same day. In Niger State, just close by here, Niger State, maize farmers were killed on the farm also. And they had just harvested about 50 bags of maize. All the bags of maize were burnt. So how do you burn it? Why do you burn it? You're talking about...
I have a theory. And this is a theory I'm repeating. It's originally not mine.
Yeah.
But, I had a doctor on Twitter. That was like the first and the last time I actually held a Twitter space. But I spoke with a doctor. And he tells me a story of him being in the medical sector and how, as a doctor, he is one of the doctors who have been lobbied in Nigeria by the Bill Gates Foundation. And he comes up with a theory, and I'm going to really just lay it down as a supposition, and it's really just an opinion. He says that he believes that those who are trying to push genetically modified food in one vein are in another vein in support of the insecurity on the farms, so that you pretty much have little to no options to choose from.
So I've done a
get the
research.
picture?
I have a research. I'm rounding up at the moment, where we had to look very critically. I had to get a lot of young people to scout the internet, bring out every single case of insecurity in this country in the past 10 years. And when we ran it, we looked at the prevalent occupation in those areas, and I'm getting to currently over 95% of those areas farming regions. So when 95% of the areas,
so you're agreeing with the doctor that it's possible that,
according to the data I am looking at, that I'm working on at the moment,
Yeah.
the majority of the places that we've had insecurity in this country are farming regions. That is what I am seeing.
so it's
if
a case
someone has
of
said it,
break down their biological system and then create a problem and then bring a solution.
so what
basically.
tipped me into all of this in the first place was the Plateau crisis of December into January. That's what triggered me into all these things that I'm currently talking about, because I had to look at it. What exactly is going on here? The Mangu local government in Plateau State, where we had the location of the last major uprising in Plateau State. That is the largest maize market in the country.
Wow.
The largest maize farms are in southern Kaduna. They bring most of the maize to Mangu, and then from Mangu it goes around the country. And then right there and there, what nobody was actually reporting was that over 436,000 metric ton of maize got destroyed during the January crisis, the December into January crisis. 436,000. This is not my head. This is a report from is it This Day or Business Day? One of the two of them reported it. Now, when you destroy that, I tweeted about it then. In less than 2 weeks, the price of egg doubled immediately. The price of protein doubled. Why? Because the pressure on the available maize from other parts of the country increased, and the cost of chicken feed also went very high. So January, everyone, if you're a farmer, or go and look at it again, from the 2nd, 3rd, 4th week of January, you would see that everything started going up in a certain direction.
Exponentially.
Exactly. So let us start thinking. Let us start
So
reasoning.
this is not only a physical war. It's not only a farmer. It's not a war against farmers. It's also a psychological war.
Right.
It's where we're going to fashion a problem. We will practically orchestrate a problem, and then we will bring a solution, and we will create room for that solution where you have little to no options to take, so that you see us straightforwardly as your saviors.
Right.
So what we give you is really what you have no option accepting.
Right. There's even a video that I came across on Twitter where some boys were paid 500 naira each to destroy maize farms. So they took sticks and started hitting all the maize, started hitting everything, destroying everything. And someone recorded and asked them, why are you doing this? They said they were paid to do it. They were paid to destroy the farms. And then just 3 days ago, a farm is getting maize harvested 50 bags. That's about 2 tons. Burnt. 3 days ago in Niger State. That is where we need to start crying out. We shouldn't just keep quiet when we see
I
this
think there needs to
news.
be like a rebellion against whatever this is, like a collective rebellion.
And no one can be bribed enough to kill himself. No one can be bribed enough. And this is my message to the people in government. You're not going to travel abroad to eat your breakfast or your lunch or your dinner. In fact, many of them are closer to the age where they will get down with these non-communicable, dangerous diseases. So they need to sit up. It's not a problem for the peasants. It's not a problem for a few people. It's a problem of the whole nation. You affect the food, you affect the entire population, and they are included in the population.
I want to appreciate I've really enjoyed your knowledge this afternoon shared. I've had the pleasure of your company really just highlighting all the situations. Unfortunately, I think there are still calls coming in, and then I wanted to ask you about the food bank, food fortification, policy innovation centers, and the role build one name. There's just one name that runs like a thread through the eye of a needle. One name over your medical, one name over your food, one name over your land.
Pharmaceuticals.
One name over, well, maybe a few names, but that same name over pharmaceuticals. It's like we can no longer afford to claim ignorance at this
point. And your education too. Start looking into the education.
Oh, that's yesterday's news.
Yeah.
Oh, that's old news.
Because we're seeing set pieces move in that area.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can afford just one more commentary, but I must let you go. I'm going to have you back. I don't know if I can keep you here a little longer.
But that's fine.
Oh,
you always come back.
Sure.
You can keep me here a little longer.
Okay, Lagos. Well, I have permission to keep him here a little longer. We're going to go off a break in about a minute and a half. I want to give this to someone on the telephone lines. Nigeria Info, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, guys.
Thank you so much for calling. Tell us your name. Go ahead, please.
My name is AY from Bagu.
Welcome, AY. Thank you. Go ahead. 1 minute.
Yes. I want to ask your guest. Well done, sir. Nice work you're doing.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to ask you. For how long has GM been in Nigeria or in existence? Because I have a memory of the 80s of tomatoes in the 80s and 90s of tomatoes called UTC tomatoes. They were so big and so mighty and so nice and so fine. Has it been that long?
Okay, fair question.
No.
Yeah, and if it's been that long, that means we've been in this for quite a while now, I believe.
All right.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info.